We are going to talk about the promoted teams to the English Premier League season 2024-2025. I'm Pulkit and I'm joined by Michael and Daniel. Daniel, how's it going?
Going good, Pulkit. Thank you. Yeah, glad to be here as well to talk about the promoted teams, to give insights to all managers, and let's get it. Michael.
Definitely excited. We do our first full year as a FPL Trio, and what a better way to start it than talk about the promoted teams. Okay.
So let's move forward. So, of course, we all know the promoted teams are now Leicester City, Ipswich Town, and Southampton United. In this video, we'll cover up talking about how the formations for these three teams were in the championship, what the key stats were, who the key players for these three teams were, and finally, how the fixtures are, and maybe end with who we three of us think could be prospective pickups for the first draft of the FPL season. So let's look at the formation for Leicester City Football Club. From what we saw, Leicester City mostly played the 4-3-3 formation, the main attackers being Mavdidi, Wardy, and Isaku. They had a pretty decent record, 23 games won, 4 lost, and 2 drawn. Michael, do you want to add something here?
Yeah, so with this one here, 4-3-3, they can have more possession. So with Vardy being the main striker, he'll be able to hold the ball up quite well, so he can either score or assist, Didi or is a Harfu. Hopefully I'm saying those names correctly. So he'll be a very central attacker in this formation. Daniel?
Yeah, nothing much to add on that. I'm more interested about comparing the two formations, which I'm sure we'll get to the next slide. If you want to hop onto that, and we can do a quick talk about that. Yeah, so as we can see here, the second one is 4-2-3-1. They played it a lot less often. 7 wins, 6 losses, 2 draws. Doesn't seem to be the most effective, but they do play it quite a lot. Yeah, it's different here. We have Daka in center forward instead of Vardy, who comes out as a sub later on. Dewsbury Hall is in the midfield, but as we know, he left the club. And Pulkit, I'm sure you have things to add about that.
Yeah, Petson Daka could be a good prospect. We also have to see. I heard the EFL Championship podcast, by the way. Those guys are really good. You should go and watch them as well. So they did mention that the last day of the championship, it felt like that people were trying to give some sort of a send off to Wardy. And if that actually happens, then Petson Daka could be a really good prospect. But with Wardy in the team, I think Wardy could be a good one. Also, with these formations, the pictures that we have here, as written there, these are actually the players that played in this formation for the last time. So it may not mean that Vardy would never play in the 4-2-3-1 formation. And finally, with the manager change, we'll have to see what formation Cooper prefer. Would he still continue with the 4-3-3, which seems to be the effective formation for Leicester in the championship, or he maybe switches things around?
I just want to chime in here to say that if we notice Ricardo Pereira in the first formation, he plays as a center midfielder and in the second as a right back. So that's something to watch for the Prem season. He is listed as a defender, but if he plays further up forward, he could be an interesting gamble because as we can see here, we need someone to watch for and monitor.
Yeah. I mean, that versatility for Pereira can get him a lot of points. Because if they're, say, losing 2-1 in a game, he'll maybe be like a Alexander Arnold, where he pushes forward quite a lot to get the assist or score that goal. So he's definitely one to watch.
Yeah, we can have a look at their overall performance and how they tend to do against the bigger teams, because of course that's the big change going from championship to the Premier League. It's not that easy anymore. So looking at what we see in this table, we see the won, lost, and draw ratios, overall home and away, and also the goals scored, goals conceded, and the clean sheet. They had a decent number of clean sheets, 50. And I think Leicester, among the three teams that are promoting, conceded the least number of goals, which is 41. There doesn't seem to be a trend when we look at the home and away numbers that suggests that they may be better at home or more attacking at home. And also their record against the big six looks decent enough. Maybe you want to add something here, Michael?
Yeah. So with Leicester City, I think 15 clean sheets was quite good. So maybe look at their defenders, but their goals scored for home and away intrigues me the most because it just shows that whatever stadium they're playing, they'll score goal. So Vardy, Daka, they might be those good enablers to get you the other players that you might want at a higher price point.
Yeah, I agree with. Also, I'm not sure if you have known, but Leicester played a friendly versus Villarreal yesterday. Speaking of the playing against good teams, they actually won 2-1. At Vardy started and he scored as well, so that's something to watch out for. If he's playing the first season game, he might be the starter for the season. And also, Mavididi was the other scorer. I don't think going to be much of an FPL consideration, but yeah, thought I'd point that out.
Yeah.
Also, about Leicester is that they had 12 bans last year. So I'm sure we're going to see that next slide as well. But that was a lot of bans. I don't suppose they're going to get that many in the Prem as well. So that's also something to watch out for.
Yeah, good. That's a good point. I think in this slide, we'll see that the majority penalty taker is Vardy. We all expect him to be the same in Premier League. But even here, we can see that Pets and Daka took quite a few. By the way, just to give an overview of the table. So what we are seeing here is the key players who at least had double-digit goal involvements. So these are the players for Leicester who had that. And then we see the minutes played, the starts they had, goals, assists, and also the expected numbers. Daniel, do you want to say something here?
Of course, yeah. The main man, Kieran Dewsbury Hall, we all know. He's gone back to Chelsea, and that's 26 goals and assists that are unaccounted for right now for Leicester. So someone's got to fill that gap. We're going to find out soon who's it going to be. Who's going to make himself maybe an option out of the blue. So we have to keep an eye out for that. That's what I. Yeah, what about you, Michael? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, so with this one here, like Dewsbury Hall, that's a big gap to fill. 26 goal involvement. So I think it's probably for either Haku or Daka to fill those roles. Daka can score more goals, that extra 5 goals, while Isa Haku might be able to get those 8, 9 extra assists. So there's going to be a lot more involvement with those players there since Dewsbury Hall is gone. So one team to watch out for.
One thing that I am also observing, of course, the output that Dewsbury Hall gave in terms of goals and assists is high. But even in terms of minutes, if we see, he played quite a lot. And on the other hand, if we see like Vardy, for example, he had less than half of what Dewsbury Hall played. So it would be key to see who fills up those minutes now in that team, especially if they don't end up signing anyone. There's also some rumors that they are not on good terms on the financial power play side. They were looking at some reduction as well. So they might not be able to go out and spend extravagantly and get some big player in that position. Yeah, then mostly if that's it for the attackers, we can also have maybe a quick look at the defenders. We already mentioned Ricardo Pereira, looking at the position that he might be playing in the midfield. And also from the returns, we can see 3 goals and 3 assists. Even the expected numbers show similar kind of returns. So he can be one to watch out for. But other than that, attacking wise, we don't see huge numbers there. And with the change in the bonus point system and defenders getting negative bonus points when they concede for each goal, we may not be able to depend on defenders getting good enough point even after conceding. So probably just Ricardo Pereira would be someone who we may consider with some decent fixtures, but otherwise I don't see anyone. What about you, Michael? Do you prefer anyone here?
Ricardo Pereira is definitely don't stand out here. In FPL now, we all want value defenders, and there's so many out there at the moment where Pereira is the only one that I can see only. Maybe James Justin. We'll see how it goes. How about you, Daniel? On the same wavelength or?
Yeah, exactly. With Pereira. I mean, I'm not considering him much, but if I were to consider someone, it would be him. Maybe he'll change my mind down a few games of the season, but we'll see. We'll see that.
Yeah, looks good. Finally, we in about Leicester with the fixtures. So they face Spurs at home in game week 1, followed by Fulham, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Everton, Arsenal, Bournemouth, and Southampton. So the most difficult fixtures on paper at least look to be Spurs, Villa if they continue their vein of form from last season, and Arsenal is definitely going to be the most difficult one among all of them. Spurs may still be an exciting one because Ange is obviously famous for his attacking approach, so it could be a high scoring game. So maybe Vardy could be a decent option. Of course, he might end up being on our benches and getting a haul. What do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, as you said, Tottenham is always a goal fest. So that should be a good game. Same with Fulham and Crystal Palace and Everton. Aston Villa, as you said, I'm not sure depending on if they carry on their form from last year. Personally, I think I find it tough to on Vardy or any Leicester player for the first game week. But as you said, I might end up regretting it. Because honestly, people see Spurs, they think big fixture, they're tempted away from Leicester players because of Spurs, for example. But as you said, it's probably going to be a goal fast, maybe 5-2, 5. I wouldn't be surprised. Do you like thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I also believe that Tottenham is probably one of those where you need to earn attackers from both teams, not earn any defenders on either one. In my opinion, I think the away games for Leicester City will be their toughest ones, especially with Crystal Palace and Arsenal. So Arsenal, they're always good at home. They're very tight at the back and they can wear down opponents to score goals. And Crystal Palace, this might seem to see like, why is he saying Crystal Palace is a hard team? But if you looked at their last 5 games last season, Mateta has scored, I think, 5+ goals. Eze, when he was fit, scored a lot of goals. So I think that those two are probably the hardest games for Leicester City in the first 8 games.
We'll now look for the price reveals for Leicester. Of course, now we have all the prices as the game has already launched, but those were the initial ones, and probably those are mostly the key ones. With Vardy, of course, the most important one at 5.5 million. I think it's quite a good price if he can continue what he has shown in the Premier League in the past and what he showed in the Championship. Maybe the age was a factor for FPL to keep it at 5.5 and not go to 6.5 or 7. What do you think, Michael, there?
So Vardy's definitely the one that is standing out the most. So he's actually in my first of many draft teams that I've created. And I think he can be a good enabler for other players that you might want. Daka, if you really are missing out in your bench, he can be another one to earn his Vardy.
Yeah, I don't like Vardy. I don't like to pick him. I don't know. I mean, even from his minutes before, we saw he played half of like he played 1,500 minutes. So I don't know how near he is. I personally think at least that there are better options at that price range. Might surprise me. I hope he does surprise me. I like the guy as a player, but not as a fantasy option. So yeah, if he leaves Leicester, as Pulkit was saying, he might. Then Daka at 5 million would be my third striker. But we'll have to wait and see. And we can even see here Okoli, the 4 million defender. He actually got signed from Atlanta in this transfer window. And last week he played 34 games, got 9 yellow cards, and only 1 assist. So even though he's only at 4 million, I don't think he's that good of a cheap enabler for a defender. With Leicester's defense probably not that solid either. Yeah, but any thoughts on that?
No, that's good that you pointed out Okoli. I'm just not sure how many minutes he gets with all the other defenders who were nailed in the championship still here. But I think we can move to other teams now. The second finishing team Ipswich Town, also probably one of the most exciting teams, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they do in the Premier League. In the Championship, they tended to play quite an attacking style, and we basically will see how the manager adapts or still continues with that vein of form. So first thing we talk about with Ipswich formation, quite straightforward. They pretty much use the same formation, 4-2-3-1 in all the games, with Hurst playing up top and Chaplin playing behind him, along with Hutchinson and Burns. All of the games, the same formation. So there's not much to discuss over here. I don't see why they wouldn't use the same formation in Premier League as well.
Yeah, as you said, Pulkit, in the beginning, Ipswich is one of the most exciting teams, and it's the one I'm excited about. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how they're gonna perform. Yeah, they do play an attacking football, so their games, I mean, if they keep doing that in the Prem, it's gonna be an interesting game. They might even be targeted in FPL if all their games are that open as they were in the Championship. So let's see how they do it. Michael, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm definitely rooting for Ipswich. They're like Luton Town for this year, where everyone for some reason just wants them to go good. And with that hacking nature, I can't see why they can't stay up. And maybe one of the attacking players like Hurst or Hutchinson might see a good selection within the FPL community.
Yeah. There will definitely be some interesting things from Ipswich, as we'll see in the rest of the video. But also something I heard, I was actually more excited about Ipswich. Last time we had a talk and we were discussing things. But when I heard this championship, so he did mention that Ipswich lacks a bit of the physicality aspect and they might struggle a bit and they need to basically strengthen most of their positions before they basically start the Premier League. Also, Mac was not really expected to do as well as he has done. There is a possibility, not sure, maybe not this season, but there is a possibility some bigger clubs could come for the manager and then things could change quite a lot. But looking at the overall stats for Ipswich, 28 games won, 16 at home, 12 away. But if we look at the number of lost games, only one lost at home. This clearly shows how good they are at home. Even at the goals scored and goals conceded numbers, if we see it, 2/3 of the goals have been scored at home. So this kind of shows how attacking they tend to take play at home, which makes them quite interesting. So anything to add from you, Daniel?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I'm sure they're gonna probably lose bet 1-1 in the Prem at home, but it's gonna be interesting. Like as you said, at home score more. They don't concede less at home. It's open games at home or Ipswich, so they're attacking more, which makes them more vulnerable at the back. Maybe their home game can be targeted. I think maybe I'll do that. Even I think Liverpool is them on the first day of the season, so that's gonna be a high scoring game. That one to consider. And yeah, again, away, 12 wins, 6 draws, 5 lost, nothing special there. It's low scoring game for such away. Michael?
Yeah, looking at this, looking at the penalties, they don't seem to be trying to get penalties like other teams last season in the Premier League, for example, Chelsea. So we can see a lot of high scoring games like you both have said. So home and away, expect it to be more than 3 goals, I think, every game until they settle in till halfway through the season, get more transferred. Then they might be more defensive later on.
Yeah. And also their stats against the top six. So the bigger teams show that the games tend to be quite open. So would be interesting to watch how they play in the Premier League.
It was friendly yesterday versus Shakhtar, but yeah, and they won 1-0. So they're building up to the Prem. It wasn't a high scoring game, but they did get the victory. So it looks like maybe they're adjusting their tactics, maybe less open. So it's interesting to see how they're gonna do it in the rest of their preseason games.
Was it a new venue or was it home? Do you know?
Oh, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure.
Ah,
Actually, I think it was neutral. It was in Austria.
okay.
At home, the first years. And the scorer was Sam Morsey. I'm not too sure. I don't think he's one of the main starters. Maybe they weren't playing their full teams. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right, then maybe let's look at the key players. As we saw in the formation, the attackers, George Hurst, Connor Chaplin, Hutchinson all make it to this list. Again, this list shows players who had at least double goal plus assist contribution. So Connor Chaplin has the most, 21 goals plus assists, 13 goals and 8 assists. Again, the expected numbers look pretty much in line to what they produce, except maybe for Hutchinson, where the expected numbers are around 9, but he ended up getting 14 goals plus assists. So something to keep an eye on. He's definitely an interesting midfield option at, if I'm not wrong, 5.5. But we'll have to see how he performs in the Premier League and how much of that over performance.
With this one here, Hurst is probably the one that strikes me the most because he's only got 26 games played, but he was still able to get double-digit goals and assists. So if he does play more games in the Premier League because of the rotations, he might get digit goals and double-digit assists. So we'll see how it goes there. But he's definitely on my radar, but maybe not team for the first few weeks. How about you, Daniel?
yeah, actually, my guy here is going to be Omari Hutchinson. Even though he played a lot of games and didn't get that many, but he's only 20 years old. He just got signed on a permanent transfer to Ipswich. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do. So yeah, I think he's who I'm going to be keeping an eye for from Ipswich. And actually, just going back to the athlete friendly, Sam Morsey, he's a defensive midfielder. He got 3 goals, 6 assists last year. So yeah, we shouldn't be considering him for FPL. The defenders now, main lead name. We've spoken already highly between ourselves, and I even tweeted about her. The 43 games, 43 starts, he assists, he led the championship and assists. Yeah, I think Pulkit, you have a lot of things to say about him as well.
Actually, I expected him to become a template pick when the season starts, but
Yeah, that's crazy.
exactly. And I think a lot, we'll see it later. Maybe the fixtures have a role to play in that. Also, this bonus point change, which I think personally that it may be overhyped a bit. The impact that change has on the selection of your defenders, it will have an impact, of course. But I think when it comes to attacking defenders, you mostly are not just relying on bonus points. So even if this bonus points would reduce, if he's getting 2 assists in a game, I think he has already done his job. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. He is already in my first draft as a bench player. And when we look at the fixtures, we'll basically know why he's a bench player in the starting. But these are amazing numbers. I mean, 18 assists is huge. 2 goals, 20 returns total. Even if you look at the expected numbers, which are a bit lower, 13 assists for like a 4.5 million guy, it's amazing. What do you have to add, maybe, Michael?
For defenders, Leif Davis is probably the only ones that we're looking at, and the majority of the FPL community probably will only look at him. With 18 assists, that's basically, you don't need any goals or much clean sheets. Those will just make up the points, if you're 1 or 2 points behind like a mini league opponent, those few assists could boost it up quite a lot. So yeah, I can see his ownership rising later on in the season if his performance is the same as the championship. How about you, Daniel?
As I said before, he is one of my template. I think he's gonna be in my team for a while. We're gonna talk about that later, but they're playing Liverpool first. I might even start him. I like attacking threat. I like the openness of the game that's gonna be it. So yeah, he's one of my mostly anticipated players. He's gonna do great things for my team. I can say that. He got 20 goals and assists in 43 games. That's one contribution every other game. He's not gonna sustain that in the Prem. I'm not saying that, but he's gonna be a differential. He's gonna be a great pick. if he stays at that low percentage, less than 5% the last time I checked, it'll be good.
There's just one more player that basically is not in this list I'd like to mention is Al Hamadi. He's an Iraqi footballer. I think he joined Ipswich in January, if I'm not wrong. He had only one start and less than 300 minutes, mostly substitute appearances, got 4 goals. So if he does become a key starter for them, he could be one to also look out for. All right, looking at the fixtures, clearly we can see why no one is enthusiastic about Ipswich in the start, at least. Liverpool at home to begin with, then Manchester City away. Probably the toughest fixture that one could get. If it would have been Liverpool away, then definitely it would have been like the toughest you can start with. But then if we look at from game week 3, Fulham, Brighton, Southampton, Villa, West Ham, Everton. Maybe only Villa is the most difficult one. Everton depends on how they continue their defensive performance and so on. But Liverpool at home, I don't think attacking wise the worst fixture that you can have. I think Ipswich differential could be an interesting pick there. Liverpool at home. Of course, we have to watch a lot of preseason games, how they adapt their planning and strategy in the Premier League against the bigger team, how Liverpool adjusts to the slot system, whether they still have those defensive frailties that we saw last season or it's not that. Because if that game is open-ended, if Liverpool plays the attacking style that they always do and Ipswich does the same, then it could be a high-scoring game and could be goals for both types of players.
Exactly. Yeah, that being said, it's a home game for Ipswich. These tend to be open. I don't know if they're gonna tighten up for the first game of their Prem season, but if they don't, gonna be a goal fest, as you said. And I mean, I'm targeting all their home games: Liverpool, Fulham, Everton, even Villa. It might be tough, but I wouldn't mind starting Leif Davis there. But yeah, after game 2, they have a great run of fixtures. Against City, I'm probably gonna back my Ipswich if I have any. Leif Davis, I'm gonna have him. But yeah, for the rest, I'm pretty excited. I'm gonna watch most of their games. Ipswich, I like them. I think they're gonna stay up. So see what they do. What do you think, Michael, about that fit?
So all their home games I'm really excited about because I can see just them scoring at least 1 goal in each of those home games. And yeah, I can see why against Liverpool, Manchester City, the probably top 2 teams in the last 5-6 years in the EPL, apart from Arsenal. So yeah, I might be benching him for Man City, but the rest of the games I can see myself signing him all the time and hoping to get 5 points each game with an assist or maybe clean sheet and a yellow card. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it looks good. I think we can move to the price reveals again as the game is launched already. So we know all the prices, but probably these are the key ones. Hutchinson is someone we already mentioned, 5.5 million midfielder. Could be an interesting pick if we are trying to fit in both Salah and Haaland. We need these value picks. And of course, at home, he could score quite a few goals. Same for Chaplin, again a midfielder, Hurst as a striker.
Nothing special going on here. There are 5.5. Leaf Deep is both 4.5. He's not on this list. So yeah, and for the rest, I wouldn't really consider Morsi. Morsi's the guy that scored yesterday. He had 5
Yeah.
million. And then the other defenders, how would you consider them?
The only one I would really have is Hutchinson. Probably again, he's on my radar rather than that first 5 choices.
Exactly. Yeah, same here.
Yeah, he's actually in my first draft. So if he remains. All right. So the last promoted team is Southampton United. So let's look at the formation Southampton United used in the championship for the 2023-2024 season. So 4-3-3 is the formation that they mostly adapted with Armstrong up top, along with Brooks and Fraser 38 times out of the 46 games, pretty much for most parts of the season. Had a decent record, maybe not overly enthusiastic. Did win 21 games, lost 10, and drawn 7. The other formation that they used was 4-3-2-1 with Adams up top now and Armstrong behind him along with Edozie. Just 8 times, but the interesting thing to note here is that they won 6 of those 8 games and drawn 2 did not lose any. This was the formation they actually preferred using in the busy part of the season, so somewhere in December, but not really sure why they didn't continue with this formation, even though they didn't lose again. Michael, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, with this one here, it's probably, I think, with the congestion part of the season in December. Usually they have a lot of games for the Christmas period, New Year's, etc. So possibly they were just doing this to rest the players and just do a little bit more defensive work rather than attacking and save that energy for the second half and challenge for that top 3 spot, which they got at the end of the day. How about you, Daniel? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree that you guys said December, the congested period, they to rotate, but it's actually that not lose any game with that relation. Maybe we could contact Russell Martin, the manager, and know about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can hear that Armstrong actually, as Pulkit mentioned, in a quite a deeper role. But if they do play it in the Prem, maybe like his output, he's not playing at the center for it, but it's something to monitor in the preseason to see how they're going to be preferring to play. So yeah, I guess moving on to their performance.
Yeah, we can look at the performances. Again, the table shows how much they scored. Their home and out, they scored decent number of goals, 87, with 5 coming out of the penalties. 15 set pieces is actually a notable number here. 13 clean sheets is pretty much comparable to what other teams had. I think Leicester had 15, Southampton 13. Out of the 87 goals, they scored 54 at home. So looks very likely that they go attacking in home fixtures. What do you have to add here, Daniel?
Yeah, I just had they did score 54 from that's almost 2.4 goals per game, which is a lot. Even though they do go attack, they also concede less at home. If you can see here is the left side, they did pretty good home record. They did lose 5, not like they only lost 1, but they do score a lot of goals at home and concede less. So maybe they can turn into some kind of fortress. I mean, we'll have to see how they go. Obviously, the Prem is a different during the championship, but it is away they scored 20 less goals. That's significant. You, Michael, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Southampton's definitely a team that goes better when the fans are behind them. As we can see, 54 goals at home and 33 away. And the defense, they did concede, I think, 6 less goals there, but it's more or less even. So I probably would be looking at their defenders, but rather than the attackers, and especially if they have 2-3 home games consecutively, they might be a good buy there, those attacking players. So we'll go to the main players in their attack.
Yeah, so the main players that we can see, of course, Adam Armstrong is one of the most key players here. 21 goals and 13 assists. That's 34 goal returns. It's a huge number. And then Jay Adam is the second one with 20 contributions. Then Stuart Armstrong, 12 contributions. So looked pretty decent. Also, the expected numbers pretty much in line with what we are seeing. So it's not even overperformance, maybe slightly for Adam Armstrong, but still it's a huge number. What do you think, Michael?
Armstrong is definitely the one to look out for here. It seems that he's the main penalty taker also, with taking 4. And Pulkit was mentioning before, he hasn't gotten injured since 2021. So I think he's the go-to guy here. How about you, Daniel?
Yeah, totally agree with that. Actually, Adam Armstrong, I've done 2 drafts so far. He's been in both. I'm looking to maybe start dealing with him. I mean, it's that don't lie, goal involvement in 46 games. That's crazy. I mean, again, it is a championship, but he's their main man. Everything goes through him. I feel like, if they're gonna score, big chance it's him. If they're gonna assist, he has 30 assists, which is a lot. So yeah, I mean, he's someone I'm strongly considering. I think I'm gonna have him for the season.
Yeah, and I guess later we can also maybe have a look at, I don't have the numbers now, but if he has the shots on target and all those things, but that would also have his bonus point boost. So basically, with Adam Armstrong, you pretty much get someone who can score goals, get assists, takes the penalty, and can get those bonus points.
And he's a cheap enabler. He's 5.5. I mean, if you want to go for Haaland, if you want to
Yeah.
go for more expensive players, he's someone. I predict he's the best 5.5 from the promoted team. The other 2 are already the Ipswich striker. Personally, I'll go for Armstrong, but I guess we'll discuss that later, Price.
Yeah, and then to look at the defenders as well, we all know Kyle Walker-Peters from the Premier League in the past. I think he was with Spurs as well, right? For
I
some
think
time.
so. Yeah.
Yeah. He's probably the most attacking one out of them. Maybe Harvard Baylis has some good numbers as well. 5 returns from the 40 games that he played. Pretty much both those defenders had started the games that they played, so that's also a good sign to look at. And then we have Bednarik and Manning, but those numbers are too low, and probably with then not too much preferred for clean sheets. Probably we won't look at them, at least unless we look at them for the bench. Do you, Daniel, have anyone Southampton in your?
Not really, but I have something to add. I feel that Kyle Walker-Peters, West Ham are looking to maybe sign her. So that she, because Southampton actually signed a Japanese defender, Sugawara. He's a right back as well for 6 million in real life. So I don't know if he's going to be starting into that Kyle Walker-Peters spot, and then he's going out. So that's something also to monitor before the season starts. But anyway, I wouldn't go for them. They're more than 4. Actually, Taylor Hard would be the 4 million defender. He is also in my draft. Yes, maybe he could be another enabler on the bench to rotate. Michael, are you thinking about someone or not really for the Southampton defense?
Yeah. Well, Southampton defense with these numbers and also attacking numbers and the clean sheets, I wouldn't really be looking at any of their defenders. But it's interesting to note here that Taylor Howard Bellis is the only one that has more goals and assists than the XG plus XA. So I think if he does play more often in the Premier League, he may be a better value than Kyle Walker-Peters if Kyle Walker-Peters does stay at Southampton.
Yeah, good point. I am actually seeing Harvard Bailey's in a quite a drafts, probably because of the 4 million decent bench option who regularly plays. So could be actually one to look out for. And I also read about Southampton, again referring to the EFL Championship podcast. You can go and find them on Spotify. Amazing people. They did mention that Southampton tends to go all out in the bigger games. They usually have their best or worst performance in these bigger games. So we could maybe see some high scoring games with Southampton. We have seen them in the past. I do remember a 9-0 in the past. Let's see how it goes.
Versus Liverpool, right?
Was it against Liverpool? Or I'm forgetting actually who it was against.
It was most likely Liverpool. They have the worst performance or the best one. There's no mediocre for us.
Yeah. All right, then looking at the fixtures, Southampton start Newcastle could be a difficult one, but then Nottingham Forest at home, Brentford away, Manchester United home, Ipswich home, Bournemouth, Arsenal, Leicester. So 2 of the promoted teams between game week 5 to game week 8, Arsenal being the toughest one in that 4-game range. Start probably decent enough. Depends on how Brentford also turn up. But Man United, I think they bounce back better with the FA Cup win at the end. I think they'll be high on confidence. And Newcastle could also, without the pressure, they could also be playing good. So I'd not look at the defense. Maybe attacking Adam Armstrong is someone I might consider. But what do you think, Michael? Do you have Southampton players?
So in my first couple drafts, I didn't have any Southampton players. I only had Vardy as well the forward, the third forward. But with Armstrong's price and now looking at, his injury status where he's never been injured and the different formations, I might be switching Vardy to Armstrong. And if you look at the home games, they have Nottingham Forest, who almost got relegated last season, then 2 championship teams in the first 8 games. So I think it's probably good to have Armstrong in there as bench option and just put him on when there's the home games. What do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say I do recommend that you do switch from Vardy to Armstrong. Very to understand. Even the minutes played. Vardy, I think he played maybe half of the Armstrong minutes. Doesn't mean he's not going to perform good. But yeah, Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm happy to hold Armstrong through game week 8. Obviously, benching him at some points, for example, the Arsenal away game. But for the rest, Leicester, Ipswich at home, Nottingham Forest, as Pulkit mentioned, all three home games against lucrative teams, which I think when Armstrong can get a return. And with the odd clean sheet, defenders as well, I don't know, also. But yeah, personally, I'm looking at Armstrong for that.
Yeah. I also really like Armstrong, but I'm not liking those first four fixtures quite a bit. I mean, Newcastle, we have seen how good they can be in defense. They had these injury issues, but they can be excellent in defense. Nottingham Forest, even at times, has been really good in defense. This home fixture maybe works in favor of Southampton. I do agree. But even the other two, Brentford and Man United, even they can defend quite well. Those fixtures are putting me off a bit. But Adam Armstrong numbers are
I agree with you on that front, but now with your rules that will relate your video with the 5 transfers, I mean, I might be inclined to get Armstrong and then even bench him to play him like the next 4 fixtures because of that 5 transfer accumulation, which we'll talk about here in another video. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how we're gonna try to drive long there.
Yeah, all right. And just look at the prices of some of the key players, as we already mentioned. Armstrong at 5.5. By the way, this is Adam Armstrong and not Stuart Armstrong. When we mentioned Armstrong, strongly considering it actually Adam Armstrong. I mean, Stuart Armstrong numbers are not bad, but still, Adam Armstrong is just on another level. And then Walker Peters for 4.5 million, maybe.
Yeah, that's why Harlan Bellis is more popular than Walker Peters,
Yeah.
even though Peters has like slightly better numbers because he's a Formula. No one's gonna want to have Southampton defenders, just because they're that good. So I mean, the enablers, 4 million defender starter, it's not a bad thing to have on your bank. Like, in case you get injuries, in case you have to rotate. There's a good picture coming along. That's why Walker Peters, I'm pretty sure, is not that lucrative today.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't really have much to add there. Like Walker Peters or any Southampton defenders, maybe they didn't get looked at if they really press for time and they really need to pick someone. But yeah, Adam Armstrong at 5.5. Yeah, I'll most likely put him in Savati in my next probably number 100 draft.
All right, with this, we end the promoted teams video. I hope we give something to ponder to the FPL community and hope this content helps. Just before we end the video, maybe once you, Michael and Daniel, who are the 3 picks from these 3 promoted teams that you put on top? Maybe we can start with you, Daniel.
Yeah, for sure. So before I had Leaf as my number 1. Now it's between him and Armstrong. I'm gonna say they're 1 and 2. Doesn't matter the order. And then for the third one, I think I'm gonna go back to Ipswich again and say Hutchinson. I think Michael was saying he had him in one of his drafts. So he's on my watch list. I'm not gonna get him quite yet. The first 2 I probably will get. Yeah, I think these are my top 3, honestly. What about you, Michael? What's yours?
Yeah. So Leaf Davis is definitely in the top 3. And then Armstrong is number 2 because of his minutes. And number 3, it would be Hutchinson or Vardy. Just depends on, preseason and how they go to secure that another spot. How about you, Pulkit?
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you, what you guys mentioned. It's hard to go different than the ones you mentioned already. Leaf Diff is definitely on top. Adam Armstrong, Vardy, maybe a couple other names that I'd throw in Patson Daka, depending on whether he shows up in the preseason, the formations they took. If Daka's minutes look promising, he might be an option. Then also interesting to be look is who would be that placement for Dewsbury Hall in Leicester. If someone marquee comes, he can become an option. Then last name would be the Iraqi footballer Al Hamadi, who started just 1 game, played quite a few from the bench, but had 4 goals already. And I think he took a penalty or 2 also for them. So if he actually becomes an option, then maybe him. But mostly the ones that you mentioned would be the top 3.
So it looks like we all have more or less the same top 3 that here the FPL community agrees, and hopefully we're proven right when the season starts and our players performing well.
All right,
Definitely.
and we can end this. Thank you, everyone, and take care. Please like, subscribe, and leave us some ideas in the comments.